Janice. I live in Palm Beach and New York. I'm an entrepreneur and I have a 17-year-old son, Mike. My story is that I'm an orphan. I was raised by different family members, and at 16, I just felt I wanted to be on my own. I was ready, so I went to college at 16 and have been on my own since then. I really knew that being an orphan, my sense of well-being was tied into my security, and I had no safety net. I had no security blanket, so I knew I had to create that. I got married pretty young. I married a really handsome, very successful New York guy. So we were young, we were successful, we were wealthy, we were connected, we were very charitable. We were living a pretty wild lifestyle in New York City in the 80s. There were cars, there were drivers, there were big homes, there were homes in the Hamptons, homes in California. We had a pretty incredible lifestyle. So I come home from work one day and there's an invitation to Bible study fellowship.
Why did you go?
Simply a social obligation, because Sarah Brown, who was a dear friend, and her husband was a dear friend of ours in New York City, had invited me. Somebody from BSF invites me to go to church, this new church plant, Redeemer Presbyterian Church, to hear Tim Keller. So I go over to Redeemer, and Tim is preaching on the Gospel of John. That's where I met this guy, Jesus, and radically changed my life. With a marketing background and this new church plant, I end up on the stewardship committee. And I hear all this teaching around the tithe. I was such a baby believer. I mean, it was out of obedience that I was doing those things. It wasn't out of a love of giving or a love of others. I love money. I've always loved money. I love making it. Money was my God. Money was where I was going to get my self-worth. Money was where I saw my value. Money was my mission. Giving had always been pretty easy for me. As an orphan, I had been given a lot by a lot of people. So the sense of payback was comfortable for me. My giving was one of the things you do on the checklist of Christianity. My life got really, really dry for years. I sold my companies. I was down here in Florida by myself. I was away from everything, and I really, it was a way big dark night of the soul. And then I went to generous giving, and everything ignited. I just saw these people at Generous Giving, and I saw how lit up they were, and I saw how they just enjoyed sharing with what God had blessed them with in radical ways, and I wanted in at that party. That's where I wanted to be. This business started right when I went to Generous Giving. I decided to start this business because I really felt God had called me to another business, and I wasn't just supposed to sit home and retire. So we do this startup of this new business, and then the Great Recession hits. So it was a struggle. Wasn't an easy build economically. And so for the first 3 years, I didn't take a salary. last year we were very successful. Things turned around, everything started clicking in, and I was able to take 3 years of salary at one time. And I just heard God say, okay, Big Mouth, you've talked about it for 3 years. Now let's see what giving 50% away looks like. And I did it. So I didn't do it for 1 year, I did it for 3 years. And it was quite a challenge, and it was a good step in my journey. I think that I was just buying into the security that I could provide by my zeros, and that just really isn't the truth. So I was always worried, I was always anxious, and that's a place of fear. So my whole life, since I was a little girl, has been about living in this place of fear that it would all be gone after I made it. And of course, I've made and lost fortunes, so that's happened to me. And I think that once I really started believing that I was a daughter of the King, that God loved and delighted in me, and that He was never going to leave or forsake me, that once I got to that place, that's where this freedom came. The one thing that I've learned is I've had a security blanket all these years, I just didn't know it. That safety net is in the loving arms of Jesus. It's not in my zeros. I feel like I had been chosen by God way back then. I was marked.